You're listening to the Viral Volley podcast. Now here's your host, Rob, on the mic.
All right, good day, everyone. I'm Rob Esparro for the Viral Volley podcast, and it is truly a great honor to have that face on the screen. If you don't know who that is, you haven't been following collegiate volleyball. So it's Mark Pavlik of Penn State. We call him Pav. All those who are near and dear to him, so pretty much the world calls him Pav. Doing my research on him. Thanks for being on the show, first of all.
Love to hang out with you. We just got to do it more.
Oh, for sure. Well, now I got the personal digits. I'd be pretty much cyber stalking you. So, but how about this? Your 2021 season, you're about to go into another NCAA championship week. But this season, 21-3 overall, 16-3 in conference. You're in a 4-match winning streak. But this is what blows me away, the career numbers here. Are you ready? 605 and 209 for a 76% career winning percentage. You've got 2 national championships under your name, 94 as an assistant, 2008 as the big winner, which great honor because I was on the mic at UC Irvine's Brent Event Center for that one when a little guy by the name of Luke Murray, the Hope for Us 5'9", 5'10" guys, got 10 blocks. Awesome day. Runner up 4 times. You have 31 NCAA tournament appearances, now 32 with next week coming. 31 conference regular season champions, now 32 with the win this last weekend. 8-time EIVA Coach of the Year and 2008 AVCA Coach of the Year. That's quite the resume, Pav.
It just means I'm old, Rob, and that's all it means. We've managed to recruit guys who have picked their parents wisely, and that have led to those 600 or so wins. And it's amazing that I've only screwed up 209 times with that. That's how good they've been.
Well, of those 209, 3 of them came in this year, but I mean, it's an abnormal year. And we were talking about before going online, it's going to be an abnormal season with a pandemic limiting training and the way matches are going to have to be played. I mean, you had 3 losses, Ohio State early on, January 3rd, NJIT on Valentine's Day, because probably you're thinking about your wife, and then George Mason, because you wanted Jay to have some kind of self-esteem. But, for the most part, it's been a powerful season for you.
Yeah, we know Jay has self-esteem issues. You got to feed it once in a while there. It has been truly a season where, again, I tip my hat to our guys and everything that we've asked our student athletes to do. And really not just here, but across the board for men's volleyball and collegiately for all the student athletes. But to do what they've done under these circumstances, they're just a special group of guys. And it has been a fun season to see them take the horns of their team and say, here's what we want to be like, and keep working at it. So, yeah. I also got to tip my hat to the EIVA this year. There were not any easy matches. And that's the exciting thing. I think our league is growing. We've got some great young coaches that are trying to do the right things for their program. They're out there busting their butt to recruit kids that come in that are physical kids that can play the game. It's just a great group of coaches to work with and to compete against, and to get through with only 2 losses in the league. I'll take that any year.
Yeah. Well, considering that this is a pandemic season, post-pandemic season, I think men's volleyball as a whole was successful operating through this time, but EIVA particularly, and correct me if I'm wrong, only 2 programs are really affected by COVID, is Sacred Heart and UC towards the end of the year. I mean, to me, that's a successful go. You guys agreed to play each other 4 times each, and I think they only had to miss 2. Each team had to miss 2 matches.
Yeah, there were. I think there were only 2 teams that missed 4 matches, but everybody missed 2. Mm-hmm. Our 2 against St. Francis were COVID canceled. UC had the COVID issues for 2 weekends. Sacred Heart had 2 separate weekends of cancellations. New Jersey Tech was in on one of those, and Jay was in on one of those. So I just think that coming through this year with us playing that many matches, it was great for our student athletes. It certainly feels like a full season to us.
Yeah, well, 20 some plus matches, you got to celebrate that for sure.
Agreed.
When some maybe only played a total of 12 or 13. So
right. And didn't get into the gym to train until like February, correct?
Yep, like Long Beach State and Cal State Northridge because of state requirements. So yeah, it's a successful season by all means. And we're coming out of the weekend where conference tournament completed and automatic bid for Penn State, as well as getting the regular season title. And you look at the information, like first conference crown since 2017, the regularity of Penn State winning, like a 2-year absence is a big absence for your program. That speaks volumes about you and what you've done for Penn State.
I just think that's, the runs of people or teams constantly dominating. You just have so much more parity out there across the board, not just within conferences, but across the board. And it's good to see. I think that even for us, I remember 10 years ago sitting in an EIBA meeting saying, look, dominant teams shift every year. It doesn't matter who they are. It's going to happen here. As much as I'm going to try to make sure it doesn't happen, it's going to happen. And I think the natural evolution of leagues and overall the natural evolution of national play just keeps getting better and better, and that's what we would love to see happen. So I think we're seeing that, and I'm glad the EIBA is moving in that direction too.
Yeah. Well, this last weekend, you're opposite Cal Fisher. I love the quote from your website. Turned in a heroic individual performance with a career best 27 kills while hitting 440 on 50 attempts, and ended up being the EIBA tournament MVP. And he's been a pretty solid performer for you all year. Can you comment on Fisher as a player?
He comes from a great volleyball family. His sister played professionally. Mom played for Eastern Kentucky, and I just recently found out that I think she still holds Eastern Kentucky's record for aces. So I just want to see if there's any video of her jump serving, and that she passed along to her son. Fish is just, he's going to be home on any surface. I think he'd make a great beach player. All quick twitch. He kind of reminds me and those that go back with me to the Aussie Antonetti type of player. Aussie was
head coach, BYU legend, lefty they list him at 6'1", but on a good hair day, he's 6'1".
With an arm that was so quick that, was faster than a hummingbird wing. And Fish is the closest guy, at least in my career, that I've seen come to the level that Aussie was at. And just a great athlete, an even better person. It was interesting because 2 years ago, the last time we had an EIBA championship was his freshman year. And we went into that EIBA final against Princeton, and Cole Bogner was set the entire match. Brett Wadman was opposite as a freshman and had at that point a career high for him against Princeton. And Will Bantle, our libero, had dislocated his elbow about 3 weeks earlier. Fish was our libero at that time.
Wow.
We've had Fish play outside. We've had Fish play opposite, obviously. We've had him play libero. And believe it or not, we've actually had him set in practice because he set some in high school. This is a guy that I think can do it all. I think he's still trying to figure out what it is that he can do. Mm-hmm. And I think the sky's the limit for him. He's enabled us to run a pretty fast overhead offense. And I think he's helped Bogner develop his skills with running an offense. And it's just so much fun to watch these guys play. I know I sound like a broken record, but I truly enjoyed this team. And they're more like Fish than across the board with our team. They're more like him than him being the standalone.
Yeah. I mentioned earlier, you got the regular season title for the EIVA. Then you got the EIVA tournament title, winning 3-1. But how does it feel handing it to your former apprentice, Jay Hosick?
Well, Jay's done a wonderful job at George Mason, and I just felt that after this EIVA championship match, the conclusion of the match, I've been fortunate enough to be around both as a coach, as a Penn State men's volleyball alum and player, and just as a fan. This was a throwback that any one of our separate alumni groups, the Mason alumni group, the Penn State alumni group, could sit there and say, oh yeah, that's what it should be like. EIVA championship between the Patriots and the Nittany Lions, the amount of effort that was expended. Both teams left everything on the court that night, and it was history being revisited. I mean, it brought memories back of Gaspar and Chase and those guys playing. And it just, that's the way I felt. And Jay's done such a great job with that program. They're gonna represent the EIVA well in years to come, and we're gonna have some titanic battles with them.
Yeah. Well, just so our listeners and viewers know, Jay Hosick was a former assistant to Coach Pav at Penn State for a number of years, and only spoke highly of you in that time there. So there's no doubt he's going to move up to a head coach program, but it's just a natural progression of things,
Yeah, exactly.
So there's nothing but love for everyone across the board.
Why waste your time with anything else but,
I don't know how you had such a controversial personality on your staff, though.
I tried to listen to everybody.
Well, let me ask you about the current team. We talked a little bit in the volleyballmag.com interview, but for those that didn't get to follow the team as closely this year due to different time zones and following their teams, but tell us about the current Nittany Lion team, being that they are going to be playing yet another NCAA championship.
Yeah, I think this might be one of the smaller statured teams I've ever had, but it might be the most athletic team I've ever had. Mm-hmm. They're pretty quick. They, like I said before, they've committed themselves to just being the best team they can be from number 1 to number 20 on the roster. We've gotten some great work from guys on the second team that I think everybody that is vying for a championship absolutely positively needs. And those guys are kind of the unsung heroes of the year. The guys that push the Brett Wadmans, that push the Cal Fishers, that push the Will Bantles, that give us the opportunity to play at a high level and enable me to give those guys a break. I just think that we try to go fast to the pins. We try to make sure that we win the pass and serve battle. I think we serve pretty well, or we have the capability of serving pretty well. Then I think that if we serve the way we're capable of serving, we make teams have to play volleyball at a high level for a long time, and we'll have that tested this coming week. Some of the best in the country are out there. But I think that Brett and Fish and our freshman Michal Koval from Poland, and Mike Valenzi before he sprained his ankle, they just seamlessly fit in and just rounded out the team even better. And we got Sam Marsh and Canyon Tooman, the two returning middles from last year that have now been through enough to say, I've been there, I've done that, I've seen that movie before. It's just a team that really you can't tell what the score is by looking at them. They're just such a steady personality. They truly enjoy playing on the court with each other.
It's weird hearing you describe your team as a smaller statured team when you have names like Max Holt, Max Lipsitz, Max Anderson, Matt Proper, coming from a program such as yours. I'm like, wow, it's you've always had so much physical size in the recent history.
Yeah, and it just, it just seems that's the way the game has gone anymore, right? The game has certainly increased in speed. You don't have nearly as much time to move in between ball contacts anymore, and you need some mobile people that can make a first contact here and get there for a third contact. You need some pretty mobile people to go get a second contact and still stay in system with the ball and still deliver the ball in rhythm, in tempo, no matter where it's passed to. It just seems like there's more of a, for lack of a better description, more of a video game aspect to our game right now. And even at the higher levels, everybody's looking for the 6'8" outside hitter that can move. For us, Aaron Russell's the unicorn. But boy, you watch some of the international play right now, and you see some great examples of athleticism and movement skills and guys that are 6'6", 6'8", 6'9", doing those things. And to have everybody that you mentioned before as our alums come through, oh my, it's just, I've been blessed to be around such great people, and like I said, guys who have picked their parents pretty wisely.
Well, let's move on to more current times. Obviously, yesterday was the NCAA selection show for the Division I/II men's volleyball tournament, and Penn State received the number 6 seed and will be playing in the play-in match against Conference Carolina's tournament champion Belmont Abbey, who'll be playing their first ever NCAA tournament. What are your thoughts on this upcoming matchup on May 3rd?
First off, congrats to Belmont Abbey and Noel and Albrecht. It just, to get into a national championship in any sport, in any division, it says something about your team, and the players certainly deserve that recognition. So hats off, and I know we're going to be ready for a fight with them come Monday night. I would not have wanted to be the selection committee this year. There was very, very few crossover events that could help actually gauge where people were at. And I know the people on the committee, and they're great people, and they want the best for men's volleyball. And there is no hint of me being upset with the way seeding is gone. They've done their best. Hey, we're here after a year of not having it. We're here, and that's the beauty of this thing. We're 1 of 7. We get a shot. We never had a shot last year, so hey, just get us there. I applaud the efforts of the NCAA selection committee, to get us to this point in this pandemic era. At least our guys are feeling like like I said earlier, we're in a season and they have a championship opportunity. And there's no way I'm going to draw a mustache on that Mona Lisa.
Yeah. Well, like you're saying, there's limited data to go on. There's no cross-conference play, and it's going to be challenging. But this was the first year that we had some active D1/2 coaches that sat on the panel, went from 3 on the committee to 5. So we know that they had a tough decision this year. So, the fact that we're able to have a tournament championship, and like you're saying, I'm celebrating that regardless of what the seedings are.
Yeah, and anybody that doesn't celebrate this is, I think, missing the whole point of collegiate athletics. Do we want to win? Certainly. But when you look at what we've gone through and how we've gotten to where we are and the efforts that everybody has put in, I certainly don't want to denigrate those efforts by complaining about a seeding. It's useless. It's not worth my time doing it. Let's just get everybody together, celebrate the best this game has to offer this year, and just make sure that we're now rolling toward 2022 and some return to normalcy and growth with the men's game.
Yeah, it still continues to grow even in this pandemic time. So, going into the pandemic, we saw 25% participation growth at the according to the National High School Association. And so, I mean, nothing but great things are happening in the sport of volleyball and the men's side particularly.
Yes.
We're seeing
Yes.
the SIAC form. We're seeing more D1-2 programs come about. You know, it's just unfortunate that the Stanford situation, which now I'm going off script. I mean, what are your thoughts on the Stanford situation? They met today about potentially an open door opportunity to keep the 11 sports, but I mean, it's such a storied program.
It's one of the more unfortunate events that have come up through my career. You know, I'm sure there are legitimate reasons that were given. I think, like anything else, when those decisions are arrived at, they're arrived at in a room with people that are fairly like-minded. And I think that right now the perspective from outside moving in is being looked at and being heard. And there are always ways to keep opportunities. And I'm hoping and praying that those opportunities are there for all 11 sports at Stanford, but certainly for John and Kenny and their group. It would be, I don't want to lose Stanford. They mean so much to the men's volleyball world, and you know, anything that can be done. And I'm so glad that there appears to be an open door right now that people can step through. So let's just keep pushing for it.
Yep. In our call right now, I happened to see the tweet last night that committee was meeting, and I don't know if a decision is going to be made today, but it to me was an open door for potentially saving that program. So hoping and praying, yes, for sure. Let's go back to the tournament that's going to be happening next week. And, you know, we were joking earlier. I mean, with your history in the game and your experience and the high level of accomplishment, you know, you would know the most about the teams going into this upcoming week. But we're going to call it Pav's Ponderings because there's nothing but the wisdom of a sage on the screen right there. So the other teams that are going to be in the tournament, want to find out your thoughts on them without, you know, letting the cat out of the bag, how you'd approach playing them, of course. So
I would order pizzas and have them pick up like about 15 minutes into game time.
Well, let's go
Pepperdine
first.
Yeah, and this year where we really never had to have to worry about out of conference play, I didn't spend a whole lot of time on those guys. We spent enough time trying to play our teams 4 times. You know, from what I've seen with Pep, I think David Hunt's done a great job with them. I think they are moving into that type of play that we talked about, where you need some athleticism to get between the speed of contacts. I think Owen Wickens has done an unbelievable job in being very effective for them. I think their middles have done a nice job. You know, the tradition that the Waves have, I've got to figure every time you walk into the gym in Fitzgerald, the ghosts of the past are there, and they know that they're playing for something bigger than themselves. And I think anytime you can get a team to buy into that, it makes them even more dangerous. So they're not foreign to big matches, and I think it'll be interesting to see where they wind up at.
Well, I accidentally skipped the number 7 seed Belmont Abbey because they were playing you, but let's talk about Belmont Abbey.
Yeah, and since the selection show yesterday and everything, you know, right now Colin and Ryan are busy breaking them down. I haven't had a chance to dive into them yet, but like I said, Nolan that has done a nice job. Anytime you play in a league, and I got to believe anytime you're in a league where the footprint is fairly condensed and you get to see each other and you're that close to each other, it makes it tough to, I think, to win consistently and put together an effort throughout a year that everybody's doing that. So there's in some essence parity in the Conference Carolinas, but I think you come out of that league, you're doing something right. And history shows that those teams that have come out of the Conference Carolinas since they've had the automatic bid, they have battled in their matches, whether it's the the old play-in, whether it was, the first time they were in. You don't sleep on those teams, because I think they come in with a little bit of we're an underdog. Everybody expects us to roll over, and, we're kind of like the little brother. And if we take that approach with them, if we don't expect them to come out and play tougher than we've had a team play us yet, it's going to be a long night for us.
Yeah. Well, let's jump down to you're the 6. We did Pepperdine at the 5. That brings us to number 4, Lewis, Dan Friend and his squad.
Oh, we've seen them every year except this year. And, with Tyler in the middle, that's a big boy. And then you got Conan out on the left side. And it's just been when you play them, you're going to feel like a punching bag at times. They're going to come at you and come at you and come at you with so much physicality that if you start to not believe in your physicality, you're going to hand them points. This is not a team that you can be safe with and just give them an opportunity to tee off. This is a team you've got to go toe to toe with. And, they're somebody who, in my mind, resembles that, I don't know if you're a big Marvel fan right here, but that scene in Captain America where Steve Rogers is in the alley getting beat up and he says, "I can do this all day." Yep. Yeah, Lewis is one of those teams that I think they believe they can do it all day too, and that makes it dangerous for anybody playing them.
Yep. And yes, I am a Marvel fan, so I knew exactly what you were talking about. The original Avenger.
Yep.
All right, let's go to Rick McLaughlin's number 3 seeded UC Santa Barbara Gauchos.
I think Rick is, we played them last year in a terrific 5-game match at Ohio State. We're up 2-0 and couldn't close them out. But at that point, it was like Casey McGarry and group said, "All right, let's focus here. Let's control the ball the way we know how." And it was a great match for us. I'd like to think that the group we have now, if we can play the same way that Rick's teams play, I'd be very, very happy with that. You're going to get a group. I don't even want to call them scrappy because they're too good defensively just to kind of say they're scrappy. They are as airtight with their defense as any team that I've seen. And again, if you're not physical with them, and even if you are, that doesn't necessarily guarantee better success. But if you just take a little bit off to stay in rallies, they're going to make you pay for it. And I really like the job Casey's done with his offense. Luis back on the right side is a monster that if you don't take care of early, he's just going to carve you up all day. And Rick has got an answer for seemingly everything. So maybe the best way to get them is to see if we can get Rick out of the gym early.
Get rid of the brains of the trust.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's jump to the number 2 seed. That'd be Sean Olmstead's BYU Cougars.
The image I have of the first time we played Gabby Fernandez was him giving Luke Braswell at that time a concussion. And, Gabby has done everything in his, certainly this year to show that, he's coming at you, that you're not going to leave him alone, and he still gets to be pretty successful. Yeah. And then you got Johnny on the other side. That's a team that is as physical a team as I've seen in a long, long time. I think they do a great job. The 6'9" Italian outside hitter,
Davide.
Yeah.
You stop Gabby. How do you stop Davide? Because you've got your resources trying to stop Gabby.
and then you got Stanley, who is making better and better decisions. We talked earlier about the development of Cole Bogner. I think there's a development of Will Stanley in there too, that he's developing into a very, very good setter, understanding the weapons he has and the effect that sometimes the perception of a threat can make another threat that much better. And I think Will's done a real nice job with his team this year. So that's a team, again, much like Lewis, you go in, you're going to have to absorb some body blows, and you've got to be pretty good at giving out your own.
Yeah. And finally, number 1 seed, Charlie Wade's Hawaii Rainbow Warriors.
Yeah, boy, Charlie always has his team playing so hard for so long in matches, and they too appear to enjoy playing with each other. And Gassman's a space eater in the middle there. You just he's not a point on the net. He's the whole freaking net at times. I like what Patrick has done. I like how he's really developed in his career. Rado behind him. There's another guy that you can't go to sleep on, and it's just a team that I think plays hard. They love representing not only the University of Hawaii but the whole Aloha Nation. And from where I sit, I think they do a great job of bringing the island of Hawaii with them no matter where they go. And I love playing Charlie's teams. They're just so much fun to play, to compete against, and you're going to get their best every time you get out there. And hopefully, if we get to the point where we can play Charlie, I'll look forward to it, and we'll see what we can do against them and the entirety of the 50th state out there.
Yeah, that's one of the teams I wouldn't want to play in the tournament right now, especially with that upset loss to San Diego, because that woke the sweeping beast, so to speak.
That volcano is no longer dormant.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I skipped your team, but I wanted to end on your team because I wanted to ask you about your team's mentality or mindset about going into this NCAA tournament, and that's including you and your staff as well as all the athletes.
Yeah, I think we're looking at it as, hey, just a natural extension of the season. I don't think you start addressing this part of the season right now. I think it's addressed back in September. It's, at least I found that you want to prepare your guys, especially this group, because none of them have been there before. Mm-hmm. And we start talking about it in September, October, November. Hey, here's what's going to happen. We just got to be at our best at that time, and you're gonna have things happen to you. The one thing about an NCAA event is there's some rigidity with the logistics and protocol that don't exist in other matches during the year. And when you look at the makeup of men's volleyball, we're a pretty laid back, flexible type of group that, oh, you want to do this? Sure, let's do this. Can we take 5 minutes here? Yeah, let's do that. Can he's not? Yeah, let's just play. And I think when you get into an NCAA event, it's much more rigid. Hey, if you touch those balls, that clock's starting. You got to practice here. You can't practice then. You can't switch times now. This is what you got to do. And I think the teams that react and respond to, all right, tell us what we got to do. We just want to play, are the ones that I think come out a little bit better. And we try to go with, let our guys know that, hey, you don't have to do anything more. It's believe in your strengths, understand what you've done to get you to this point, and let's just keep trying to do that. And you're gonna have teams on the other side that through their season they've approached the game the same way, and they're pretty good. And you're not going to get easy points. So how hard can we make the game for them to play against us? And can we not give them not just necessarily easy points, but can we not give them points at critical times of the match? And, it's always interesting to see how they respond to that. But looking forward to seeing how this team does and how they enjoy being together on this stage.
Yep. Well, Coach Pav, it's been an absolute honor and privilege to have you on the Viral Volley podcast and to see you and your guys playing in the NCAA Division 1-2 championship tournament, May 3rd coming up, and looking forward to see what the rest of the tournament has for you, Pav.
Well, thank you so much, Rob. We got to do this more often.
I'm going to have you on more often, believe me.
Volleyball doesn't even have to be the topic. We got to talk about the MCU and where it's going to go in phase 5 here, bud.
I'm all down with that. Hopefully you're catching Falcon Winter Soldier right now. Yeah. Sam Marsh and I are keeping each other up to date on that one. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Pav, and we will talk soon.
All right. Take care, Rob.
Hey y'all, thanks for listening to today's episode of the Viral Volley Podcast. Be sure to follow Rob at Rob on the Mic on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, or at robonthemic.com. Check you next time.